Sometimes I'll just be in a very nostalgic mood. I'm not exactly sure why, whether it's something in the air, but I'll just start thinking about certain memories and certain things I've experienced in my life, just sort of going back through old recordings and, revising them in my mind and thinking about their significance today. One of these memories that's felt sort of inescapable to me lately is the memory of the first video game I ever played. Now, I must have been 5 at this time, and my parents had gotten an Xbox for me and my brothers, and my brother, had bought this game off his friend. It was a game that had just come out. It was super popular at the time. Some of you might know this game, some of you might not. The game was called Skyrim. And I remember, when they started playing Skyrim and I watched them play it every night, it seemed like the most magical thing in the world to me. I couldn't even fathom how it worked or what it meant. But I remember when I first had an opportunity, when the chance first arose where no one was around and I was able to play it on my own, like, I remember loading up that first save file, the first time I ever played this game, and sitting down and giving it my full attention, like going through the entire tutorial sequence and heading into Riverwood and talking with the NPCs, and the amount of magic, the amount of just pure like awe that experience instilled in me is just it's impossible to explain. Like there's something very magical about being a kid, about experiencing everything for the first time. Like yes, Skyrim is an incredible game, but I've never felt that way about any game in recent memory. I've never sat there and just been totally enthralled in another world over something. Like I felt like as kids we lived so much in the moment. And although there's good things about growing up, it's crazy how quickly that time really passes. I just became an adult this year, and in lieu of that, I've been sort of traveling down memory road and thinking about my life in retrospect, and all of these memories start to come to mind. But something that I didn't realize until it had become so prophetic and so true was that I had been warned my entire life in a way. Like, I had been told since I was a kid by the people around me, these adults, that life was short, that it would pass by quicker than I knew, and that I needed to enjoy it while I could. And as a kid, hearing that, I didn't really take it seriously. I figured that time would continue to pass the same way as it always had, and to me, it felt like a year was an eternity, and it felt like for me to get to their age, like I would have so much life to experience that I'd be comfortable with that. But for whatever reason, like as you get older, time does seem to move by more quickly, and I'm sure there's some sort of science behind that. I'm sure there's some sort of like explanation someone could give, but in my experience, that has been very true. Like maybe it's based on reference points. You live more years and you're more aware of what a year is, and then you experience it differently. But it seems like when I was a kid, Christmas was a world away. If it was Christmas morning and I got my presents and went through the whole day, I was sitting there thinking about how it would be an eternity before that day came around again. But these last few years, it seems like it's always Christmas. It seems like it's always my birthday. It seems like it just comes around before I even realize, and then it's just there, and then it's gone, and then it's there again. Like I can't really explain it, but I'm sure you all know what I mean. Like time seems to speed up as you get older, and there's something kind of beautiful about that, because if we maintained that same pace as we were kids, like maybe life would be less beautiful. Maybe we would take it less seriously and treasure it less if it felt like it was so long. And I don't know, like you can't experience everything in one life. So many times I've dreamed about living a different life in a different country, growing up speaking a different language, like just fantasized about that. Not because I'm unhappy with my life. Obviously, I think my life has been awesome, but it's just like, it's unfortunate in a way that in one life you can only experience one life. I can only know what it's like to be me. In my situation, in my country, speaking my language, knowing my relatives and things. And there's something very beautiful about that, because our experience here is not all inclusive, but it's also sort of tragic, because even in your own life there's so much you want to experience. Like as time passes by, some part of me is scared that what my relatives told me will come true, that it actually will be over before I know it. And if that's true, if life does just continue at this pace, then I want to live it without regrets. I want to get to that place where I've at least experienced enough that when I'm telling my grandkid that same thing, I can say with confidence that, life moves by pretty quickly and you have to make the best of it. And say it not in a way filled with regrets, but in a way filled with experience, you know, saying like I lived my life to the fullest, and now it's nearing its end, and I want you to do the same. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed like when all these adults told me that, they said it almost from a place of, you know, melancholy. Like, they'd laugh about it and joke, and it was sort of uncomfortable, but I feel like what they're really telling me is like, I wasted my life. Like, I'm not happy with how things turned out, and now it's too late. And they were almost warning me because they weren't happy with where they were at. And looking back, like, I don't want to end up in that situation, you know, like, once you start to realize how quickly it passes by, it can be scary. But I think there is a strategy to try and get more out of this existence, and that's that like living in the moment, that state of being we had as kids is still possible today. You know, it's still possible to bring that up and experience this like dilation of time so that, you know, you can get more out of your life. It's really just that we become so comfortable with existence. You've done something a million times, you sort of zone out, and you're not even really entertained by it at a certain point. It's like driving. When I was first driving, every driving experience was memorable and mattered, and was significant to me. And when I was there driving, like, I was making memories. But at a certain point, you know, I drive every single day and I just tune it out. I just like go blank until I arrive at where I need to be. Or it's like sometimes I'll listen to, you know, some music, or I'll watch a show, you know, in the background, or just have something to distract me a little bit while I drive. I mean, obviously I keep my eyes on the road, but sometimes you listen to things and are a little bit distracted. But like, in terms of, you know, just trying to actually like be present and experience what's going on, like, I've kind of lost that. Like, I couldn't really tell you anything memorable about these times I've been driving, because at a certain point, we're not trying to get anything out of life. We're just trying to get through. We're just trying to get to the location, do the thing that needs to be done. We live for these objectives instead of living for the fun of the game. It's like if you get really deep in a video game, like Minecraft, for example. Maybe the first time you play it, it's so enjoyable to you, and you want to go build your crappy little house with one type of block, and it looks like, you know, not very good, but you don't really mind. You don't really care. It's just, you have no reference point for anything. You don't know of this upper ceiling of what there is to do in Minecraft, so you're just perfectly comfortable with what it is and the simplicity of it. But as you get really deep into it, you know, your builds start to become more and more important to you, and if a building looks bad, it affects you, or you want to get more efficient, get better tools, like, you know, it's like suddenly you're just living for the objective instead of the wonder of it all. It's like you have to go be an adult and work a job and focus on bills and money, and then you have kids and you're worried about your kids and their careers and how they're going to turn out. And it's like we're almost just trying to fulfill some sort of objective, you know? We're almost trying to just get to a place where our family is stable and our financial position is stable, and we let our entire lives pass us by without trying to really enjoy it, like without making a conscious effort to enjoy it. Like, time spent well is not time wasted. If you enjoy the time you spend on this planet, then it wasn't wasted. That's not to say you should spend all your time watching TV or video games, because I wouldn't say that's like true, meaningful like enjoyment. But I'd say that like try to like be present in the moment. Try to realize that life actually is an adventure, and life is short, and like these days that you have where you can just, you know, spend them however you'd like, those days off, instead of just vegging out on your phone, try to make some memories, you know. And if you're at work and you're just trying to pass the day by, and you're just trying to like avoid focusing on the minutes that are passing because it seems like it's such a pain to just be there for this amount of time, just try to get the most enjoyment you can out of that experience, because at least you're alive and living, and there's something to experience. Like, for all that life has to offer, you know, focusing on the positives, trying to get enjoyment out of it, will lead to a more fulfilling life, you know? Because if you're here, you have to experience it anyway. Like, there is a lot of good, you know? There is a lot of valuable experience, but you can only get that if you're trying to find it. If you're just going through life on autopilot, trying to avoid negativity and move towards positivity, moving towards pleasure and away from pain, then you're not really going to, you know, experience the best parts of life, which are in that thrill and those new experiences. Like, as a kid, everything is new, and of course it's beautiful for that reason, but as you get older and you work into a routine and you don't find a way to break it up, you're not looking to do anything uncomfortable or outside of that framework you've laid for yourself, then it's like time starts to pass by so quickly because every day is the exact same thing. It's like I found that so many times in my life where every day's just become the same product, and I couldn't even tell you the date some days. I couldn't even tell you what day of the week it is because every day is just the same grind. I wake up and I'm like, I have to do this and this and this, and then I can be done with the day. You shouldn't look at your days like a checklist. You should look at it like an experience, like a gift. And as hard as that is to do, I think that perspective, like working towards that state of being, is really what's going to enrich you and what's going to leave you with no regrets. And is really going to let you be comfortable with just how short life really is.